What's up, you guys? It's your boy Word of Mouth back here with another video talking about what has been a very interesting NBA playoff. So as we actually just saw yesterday, the Philadelphia 76ers officially were eliminated from the playoffs by the Boston Celtics, a game that included a classic Harden playoff game, a classic Joel Embiid playoff game, and an all-time performance from Jason Tatum. But I will get into them a little bit later on, not in this video, but later on in another video. As of right now, with Boston beating the 76ers, it officially means we are in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals of these playoffs. Now, before I hop into anything, I just want to stop and pause and say what a playoffs it has been so far. We've seen crazy upsets, 50-point games, legendary performances, legacy-defining games. And I would just like to sit back and just kind of take it all in for a second. Because of the conference finals coming up, it means that in a little while, we're not going to really have much basketball on the TV anymore. We've already had days like Saturday and Monday where there was no basketball on, and we've been kind of bored, but that is the stage we're at this point in the playoff. Let's hop right into these conference finals, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions. I would like to say that I didn't miss last round, as every single team that I picked won their series, so hopefully it's the same this time around in the conference final. So the first one we're going to get into is Boston versus Miami. This is a rematch of last year's conference finals, and it's a little bit different this time around. For one, Miami was much lower and they weren't even expected to make it this far, but they were much lower in the seeding this time around. But I guess fate arrives the same. Miami roster is a little bit different this time. They don't have PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero that with an injury, and Eric Spoelstra is really just putting out there a bunch of undrafted guys and role players and maximizing their abilities. Not to mention Kyle Lowry, it looks like he will have a much bigger impact on this series than he did last year. This makes this one of the more interesting series in the entire playoffs. On one side, you have a Miami team that was counted out from the beginning of the year going into the playoffs, and even after they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round, and now they're in the conference finals with a real chance to win. I know ESPN had put out something saying that they only have like a 3% chance to win, but Miami Heat, they're a scary team and they have the best coach in the NBA. There is definitely a world where I see them winning this in 6 or 7. And then you add on a player like Jimmy Butler in that fold and a defender like Bam. It's not crazy to see Miami beating Boston and ended up in the finals. Now when you look into how Miami got here, it's nothing different from the usual. Grit, heart, good defense, and making costly and timely shots. On top of that, they have one of the best players in the world. In the first round, it was really majority Jimmy going off for 50 here, 30 here, 40 here, and just leading them through all the fire and adversity, even after Giannis went down. They were shooting the ball like crazy, they were getting open shots, they were making good decisions, and they were locking up on the other end of the floor and made it extremely difficult for whoever had the ball in their hands. It was the same thing last series against the New York Knicks. They didn't shoot as well, but throughout the entire series, even when Jimmy went out, they kept it competitive. They played great defense on RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and they made shots when it counted. They never really let up. They were great with decision making, and they really just had more heart than the New York Knicks. This is why they're in the conference finals now. However, the Knicks nor the Bucks aren't the Celtics. Now I know at first everybody, including me, had the Bucks making it out the East, but at this point in the playoffs, the Bucks aren't in there anymore, and with the way the Celtics are looking, this is probably the most complete team the Heat have faced thus far. The Celtics are healthy, unlike the Bucks where Giannis was missing for a couple of games, and the Celtics are way better coached versus the Knicks where they had Tibbs, and the Celtics have way better stars/superstars on their team in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. On top of that, they have way better defenders, and they're just a way more cohesive unit. But even with all of that, I'm not struggling to pick the Celtics, but I don't think this series is going to be one that's over in 4 or 5. Just from the sheer knowledge of how great Jimmy can be and how much he can rise, although he didn't show it last series due to that ankle injury, I just cannot count somebody like that out. Also can't count out what Eric Spoelstra could draw up and how he's going to diagnose and dissect that Celtics offense and defense throughout the series. Erik Spoelstra is known to maximize his players' strengths and minimize their weaknesses, and he's done that all playoffs, putting players like Max Strus and Kevin Love in positions to shoot the ball very well, and they've given somebody like Kyle Lowry the ability to make reads coming off screens and shoot the ball when he catches it. Now, with all that being said, I am still going to reluctantly take the Celtics in 6 games. I mean, I just look at both teams and compare them, and I know the game isn't played on paper, but one team is much better than the other. And although Jimmy may be better than Tatum, the rest of that Heat roster is nowhere near as good as that Celtics roster. From the depth that the Celtics have to the piece they have coming off the bench and to round out that starting lineup, they clearly have the better team than Miami. But Miami has Jimmy Butler and the best coach in the league. But after what Jason Tatum showed me in Game 7 versus the Sixers, I feel more comfortable now choosing the Celtics than I might have before that game. I think Jimmy will steal a few games from the Celtics. It may be in TD Garden or it may be at home. Regardless, I think the Heat can definitely win 2 of these games. But at the end of the day, I think Jalen and Jason and the rest of that roster overpower the Heat and their Cinderella run comes to an end. Now onto the Western Conference Finals, which features the most intriguing series, definitely the more intriguing out of the 2 conference finals. When it comes to the Lakers, they're a team that has really overachieved at this point, and if they lost at this point in the playoffs, nobody would be mad, and this would actually be looked at as a success. Many people didn't see them really making it that far up the play-in. I mean, at one point they were down 15 to the Timberwolves, and they still prevailed. Then when they played the Grizzlies, many people, including me, picked against them. But here we are weeks later, and the Lakers are in the conference finals taking on the Denver Nuggets. Now, when you break them down, the Lakers are very interesting. You have LeBron James, but it's evident that he's kind of struggling, and it looks like that foot injury is very prevalent, and it's limited his explosiveness and his burst with the ball in his hand. Now, despite that, LeBron has still been a really great defender. He's been great on the help side. He's been pretty decent on ball as well. And offensively, he's kind of taking on whatever role the team needs him to be. He's kind of getting the ball, playing point LeBron like we saw in the infamous Lonnie Walker game. We've also seen him take control and become a scorer at times, where he will post somebody up, take on a mismatch and attack them. And we've also seen him have a couple of good shooting games throughout the playoffs. At first, he started off real rough where he was shooting like 18% from 3, but he picked it up a little bit in that Golden State series. And after the amazing Game 6 he just had, he's going into this Denver Nuggets series with like 4 days of rest and some confidence. And I didn't even mention Anthony Davis, who at this point is the Lakers' best player, and he's played like that thus far in these playoffs. From his elite rim protection and deterrence at the basket, he's been arguably the best defender in the entire NBA playoffs. On top of that, he's given the Lakers top-tier production on the offensive side as well. Now, outside of those two, the rest of this Lakers roster has been kinda inconsistent. You have Austin Reeves, who started off slow, but he's picked it up slowly. But guys like D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt have been struggling throughout the playoffs. One game, they have a great game and you're all on their side. But then the next game, D'Lo put up a stinker and Jared Vanderbilt is out there unplayable. And then you have Darvin Ham, who at times has struggled with his lineups and adjustment. But I would say throughout the playoffs, Darvin Ham has proved that he's a pretty good coach and he can adjust on the fly and do what's best and necessary for his team to win. Now, on the Nuggets side of things, they have my MVP in Nikola Jokic, and on top of that, they have the better roster and the better coach. Jamal Murray has been a little bit inconsistent this playoffs, but not too much, but he's had some head-scratching games. But everybody else, like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., have been pretty good this playoffs. You combine the coaching of Mike Malone with the all-time level that we have seen Nikola Jokic play at so far this postseason, with the contributions he's gotten from Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., it's hard to pick against them, especially when they're facing a team as unproven as the Lakers, who were put together in the middle of the season. This is another series that is a head scratcher for me, and even with many days to look into it, look into the adjustments or the matchups or what could possibly happen, honestly and truthfully, I really don't feel that confident about my pick. But with that being said, I still have to give one to y'all, and in this series I am picking the Nuggets to win in 6 games. The whole time everybody's been like Lakers in 6, but I think this is the series where they're miraculous run comes to an end. I'm very curious to see how AD plays and who he'll be matched up on, but I think Nikola Jokic just bodies them. I mean, even if they try to cut off Nikola Jokic's scores and his passing, he can still give them 50 any night. And if they decide to throw double teams at him, Nikola Jokic is a masterful passer and is arguably the best distributor in the entire NBA. And I don't think Jamal Murray will really be hindered that much, because especially if you put somebody like Jared Vanderbilt out there, let's say he locks Jamal Murray up on offense, he's not giving you anything up on the other side of the ball, and the Nuggets will gladly give up those corner threes that Vando loves to shoot. I don't know what else the Lakers can do. I mean, maybe you try putting LeBron on Jokic and leave AD in the background to roam, but even with that, I really just think it comes down to the Nuggets being a better team and a more cohesive unit. That is why I'm picking the Nuggets in 6, and I think the Lakers run ends right now. However, I would be lying to you if I said I didn't want the Lakers to win. This would do wonders for my LeBron GOAT agenda, so I will be cheering for the Lakers. But that's all I got for right now. If you guys disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Let me know who your guys' picks are, how many games, who goes off, who takes the MVP. But that's all I have for right now. And until next time, peace.